Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, November 20th, 2025. So we start off with Kat and Rave. So they are meeting at his place. Everybody's already out that needs to be out. And, that gives them time to really talk what happened. So they talked about the gala briefly and, Rave seen that, Kat injured her hand. So she said that she had a small run-in with somebody who was trying to snatch her purse and it didn't happen thanks to his self-defense training that she went through, right? So she ended up in the process spraining her hand and she got it taken care of at the urgent care. It was just a slight sprain. So anyways, they talk about her interaction with EJ, and EJ is surprisingly nice to her, even surprising to him. And she just feels as if either he has an interest in her, or it was because they were at the same facility years ago, right? So she's gonna use that to her advantage to get closer to him so that they can really nail him once and for all, right? Now, if I despise Jennifer once again, oh my gosh. Like the whole entire episode, I am just rolling my eyes at Jennifer because Jennifer just continues to show how, you know, how hypocritical she can be, how self-righteous she can be, and she acts as if she is not hurting others in the process, but she is, right? She goes over to see Justin, right? So we finally get to see Justin after so long ago, right? Because it's been a while. So he's there, to go through the paperwork with her regarding her and Jack actually filing for permanent custody of Chad's kids. And may I just emphasize Chad's kids, right? Because Abigail is no longer there, right? It's Chad's kids, right? So anyways, she said that she has thought long and hard about it. She is going through it. She doesn't want to hurt Chad because Chad apparently was a great father up until he started to have a personal life, started to just date somebody that she doesn't really care for, right? Even though the circumstances were explained over and over again why Kat did what she did, she doesn't like the idea of Chad and Kat together, and because of that, she feels as if Chad is incompetent, Chad is unstable as a father, even though that has not clouded his judgment or his parenting skills, right? Just because coincidental, Thomas decided to run across the street, right? Not thinking that, this could have happened under other pretenses, on other conditions, right? It could have been Chad was not dating somebody and, Thomas ended up running across the street. It was an accident, right? It had nothing to do with, it really and truly had nothing to do with, okay, Chad moving on, talking to Kat and everything. Like, this could have happened otherwise, right? But anyway, she said that she and Jack thought about it and they're doing it because these are Abigail's kids, and they are fighting for Abigail's honor and blah blah blah. I'm saying these are Chad's kids, and Chad has not done nothing questionable to really take away his kids from him, right? If I can remember in all my years of watching Chad, because I've watched him from the beginning when he, was screwed up, when he didn't know who his real father was, and still I don't see anything that really could have affected him as a father. I don't know. Anybody can comment, let me know. But Jennifer, however, because she fails to remember that, like, she was on this pill addiction. She ran over Gwen. Like, she had other questionable things she had just done, right? Even in her past, she used to be somebody who used to steal a lot, right? I hope that when they go to court, that Chad and his lawyer, his legal team bring up all of that, because as Justin said, this could go elsewhere. This could be where Chad wins custody of his kids. What's going to happen with Chad and you? Like, how is Chad going to feel towards you that you try to take his kids away? Like, it's not going to be the same. And she said, we can't lose. I'm like, Jennifer, it could go his way. He is the father, so it could go this way. It's not like he has a record, he has any addictions, he has anything that makes him unstable other than you trying to say, oh, he has a relationship and blah blah blah. And Justin even said, yes, the medical records are, usable, and Thomas is old enough to testify he wants to go with you, but it could go Chad's way and it could be a stronger case. I'm just letting you know, right? But they want to proceed with it. So Brady and Rachel are at the hospital talking with Sarah, and they're checking in with Marlena. Marlena seems to be on the mend now that they know what exactly is going on. They have lab tests running to see, how it could be treated, blah blah blah. So now fast forward to, Rachel and her attitude after she saw her father and Sarah, hugging it out, right? Not knowing the reason why, but again, she is trying to put two and two in her delusional head that, hey, maybe they're gonna be an item, right? So she feels a type of way now towards Sarah after all of this time, right? After all of them times they hanged out, and she loves Sarah, and she's always comfortable around her, and everything changed since they started hugging, right? They hugged, right? So, anyways, she's kind of cold towards Sarah now, even though Sarah said, "What you gonna do? You know that you have to break." And she didn't really answer, right? She ran off and said that she need to go to the bathroom, right? So Sarah asked Brady like, "What's going on with her? Has she been like that the whole day?" So he said since last night, but I think it's chalk it up to, her mom being missing and her grandma being in hospital. It's been a lot for her this past year, and Sarah is wishing that she could do something about it, right? So at some point, Xander comes over, and Xander thanks Brady for clarity on certain things, and he has told Sarah that, look, I'm moving forward with signing these divorce papers. So Brady exits there, and he does go after Rachel, who runs away from him, and then we'll get into that in another scene, right? Xander and Sarah get a chance to talk, and Xander said, I'm setting you free. I'm doing this for you and our daughter. And, it's just sad that it didn't work out because of my jealousy, my insecurity, my rage, all of that. And I'm just telling you that I'm actually, continuously working on myself. I'm still going to therapy. I'm still going to do what I have to do for you guys. And she said, I'm happy that you're doing that. That's great. And I wish things worked out. I honestly did. But, it is what it is. And, I hope, I'm not waiting around for you. And he said he doesn't expect that. He wants her to be happy and find joy in the next chapter of her life. And she wants that for him. So it was an amicable separation. Still sad because they do evidently love each other, and he gives Sarah the papers to sign, right? Because earlier Justin did drop off the paper for him, so that's what he was waiting for in the square. So, anyways, she said we'll always be connected through Victoria, and he did ask if she needed more time. She said no. She took out the paper and she signed it, and she said yeah. And Justin is like, Xander's like, is that it? So she said, yes, I guess that's it. So she says that, she'll drop it off with Justin and it will be final. So he was going to say something, and then he just walked away, and, they're both emotional about it, right? She calls Brady and she tells Brady that she went through with signing it. But, even though she knew that this was going to happen, she still is feeling sad about it, understandably. And, Brady said, look, I'm here in any case if you need me. So that was really it, right? So Chad is at the Horton house, and it's just cold shoulder with Jennifer. Before Jennifer went off to see Justin, she was there at the house, and Chad wanted to talk to her about this whole thing, and she just run off rudely, right? So he sits there, and Jeremy comes in, and Jeremy hears about what's going on between the two of them. That Jennifer is trying to like sue him for full custody, and he's sorry to hear that because he just feels as if this is just irrational on Jennifer's part, and maybe after Thomas has healed fully, maybe she will overlook this and really think, okay, maybe I'm making a bad decision, and maybe we can get back to where we're getting back to. But Chad is hopeful, but at the same time, he tells Jeremy about the fact that he's tried to talk to Jennifer and she ran out of here. She doesn't want to talk to him, and Thomas doesn't want to talk to him, and Charlotte is unaware, like she doesn't know what's really going on. So at some point Charlotte comes over, and she gives him this picture of a turkey she's drawn, and he tells her how much he loves her and her brother, and that he's always there for them. At some point Jennifer did see this, but again she didn't care. She didn't change her mind. We'll get into that at some point. But there was a point in the conversation where Jeremy says to Chad that, look, maybe you need to leave for a couple of days, let Thomas have time to think, and he will definitely miss you. And Chad is like, what if that doesn't happen, right? You know, what kind of father would I be if to leave my children and just go somewhere? And he said, it's not like you're leaving them forever. You just need a few days to think it through. It would be good for you. It would be good for them. He will probably miss you more. You know, you're his father and you're a good father and he loves you, right? Just think about that, right? Now back to Brady and Rachel, right? After Rachel stormed off and they're at home now, and Brady's like, what's really going on? So Rachel says, are you and Sarah seeing each other? So Brady said, no, we're just friends, right? Like, we're just friends, and she's going through a hard time as well. We're just leaning on each other. So, anyways, Rachel and him sit down, and Brady's like, is that what's really going on with you? And she said, no, it's a lot more. He said, I know and I understand, and just know that, I wish I could erase all the pain, but, you know, just know that I am here. And, it's been a lot this year, especially with Grandpa John being, passed away and everything. And just know that I'm there for you. I love you and I'm not going anywhere, right? I'm here for you. So he asked if she wanted to see the psychiatrist or the therapist, another appointment and everything. So she said, no, I'm good. You don't have to worry about me and all that. So anyways, at some point he does say that he's gonna get a drink if she need anything, and she said no. So at this time while he was away, she goes on the laptop, go search up for Sarah's name and everything connected to her. He sees the headline where, she was trapped on the island. One where the most important one to me was where she's, learned more about her, being the kid, that baby, right? Because at some point, Sarah didn't thought that, she was the baby that she carried. And turns out that, it was a baby switch, and her real parents were Kristen and Brady. And, turns out the baby was that Mackenzie and Rachel. So now she's surprised because, again, Brady or Sarah, nobody else mentioned that. And I'm saying, imagine when she hears about that, it's going to be different between her and Sarah going forward, right? So anyways, she looks further and she sees a headline about Sarah being allergic to pistachio milk, and she fell ill after she ate the scone at Sweet Bits, months ago, right? So anyways, now I don't know what's coming into it, but we see the trailer for this week that Sarah's gonna be ill. So more and more it looks like Rachel is gonna be up to that. But boy, if Brady does not nab this child and put her in a kind of institution or boarding school or whatever, you know, it's gonna get worse and worse. She's turning into her mother more and more, even more worse than her mother. So Brady needs to really take charge because it's getting really bad, right? At some point, she overhears a conversation between Brady and Sarah and how Brady is gonna be there for her, and he ends up leaving. And I said he just leaves the 10-year-old or the 11-year-old by herself right there. Nobody else is at home. Anyways, so Jennifer comes back to the house and she talks to Chad briefly, and she says that she's sorry that she has to do this. She prayed about it. She thought about it more. And she says in the papers that she's filing for permanent custody. So Chad looks at it and said, you're not taking my children away from me, right? I don't care. Like, I guess we'll see each other in court. So she said, Chad, let's talk for this for a minute. Talk over this for a minute. So he goes, says bye to his kids, and he takes his backpack and he sees Kat in the square yet again. And Kat is like, what's going on? So he tells Kat briefly that, Jennifer is filing for permanent custody, trying to take the kids away. So he said that he can't talk further, and then he leaves. Now, Jeremy also spoke to Jennifer and said, look, finally at Horton that's actually putting Jennifer in her place because she needs to be put in her place. So he said, I just saw a child upstairs with his kids and it was just bittersweet, and Thomas doesn't want to even talk to him. Like, do you really want this outcome? So she said, I didn't really want to hurt Chad. I'm just trying to look out for the kid's safety and all of that. Chad, I do not think that he's a bad father, but I don't trust his judgment. And me and Jack are just looking out for the kids. And Jeremy's like, it's none of my business, but like, you're making a really bad decision. She's like, it's none of your business. You're right. We're looking out for their safety and everything. And I said, do you think so? He said, do you think so? Because honestly, I think you really are messing up things here. So anyways, guys, like, comment below your thoughts on today's episode, especially with this whole Jennifer thing. Like, I hope Chad wins in court. I hope so. honestly. But let me know, guys. Comment below your thoughts on today's episode. I will see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe.